At the heart of London, where the stone walls of Buckingham Palace have stood firm for centuries, there has always been a captivating contrast. On one hand, it is a symbol of stability and unchanging tradition. On the other, observers pose a major question. Is that stillness a sign of true calm, or merely a flawless facade concealing powerful undercurrents of change? Recently, international public opinion has been abuzz with speculation about a quiet transition, one in which figures long regarded as operating behind the scenes are gradually stepping into the spotlight to reshape the established order. In a world of ritual, every step and every glance carries its own hidden code. Unverified sources suggest that the presence of Queen Camilla appears to be facing unprecedented challenges from the very long-standing pillars of the family itself. The hypothesis of necessary conservatism speculation has centered on Princess Anne, often hailed as the hardest-working member of the royal family. Is there or is there not a clear divide in viewpoints between deeply rooted tradition and the changes unfolding today? Some analysts suggest that Anne may be assuming the role of a guardian of legacy, one for whom the stories of the past are not easily erased by time. The alliance of the future, the emergence of Princess Kate within this narrative, only adds to the drama of the hypothesis. Could there be a tacit consensus among the palace's generations of women about redefining what it means to be a true symbol? To fully understand the current tensions, we must look to the flow of history itself. This is not the first time the monarchy has faced a convergence of divergent opinions. From the transformative reforms of Henry VIII to the controversial romances of George IV, royal history has always been a series of choices between personal emotion and public duty. It seems that every era requires a catalyst for evolution, and in the hypothetical scenario we are examining, Camilla's presence may well represent the greatest test of the monarchy's capacity to adapt in the 21st century. Behind closed doors, what is truth and what is merely fragments of speculation, pressures of loyalty, responsibility, and public image can create challenges that outsiders can scarcely comprehend. Are we witnessing an internal reckoning aimed at long-term sustainability, or are these simply the inevitable aftershocks of a monarchy in transition? Where will these changes ultimately place the British royal family on the map of history? What do you think of this hypothesis? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and together we will decode it in the upcoming discussions. In the digital age, life for members of Buckingham Palace is no longer limited to state visits or ceremonial appearances. Through the lens of systems analysts, they are living inside a vast glass chamber where every breath and every exchanged glance is decoded like a form of political cipher. Why does the public constantly search for signs of fracture? Perhaps because excessive perfection often feels unreal. As a result, even the smallest gesture from King Charles or other members can become the focal point of a storm of speculation about secret alliances or simmering animosities beneath the surface. The presence of Queen Camilla within the current power structure is regarded as a unique variable. From an analytical perspective, her transition from a controversial figure to the consort at the apex of the monarchy has been a journey marked by immense pressure. The hypothesis of division raises the question of whether the royal system has truly been able to absorb this presence. Some informed voices argue that her ascent has not only polarized public opinion, but also created a kind of mechanical pressure on internal relationships where old and new values are colliding with particular force. If the royal family is viewed as a smoothly functioning system, then the departure of Harry and Meghan represents a structural rupture that is difficult to conceal. Explosive interviews and direct criticism from the outside inadvertently stripped away the glossy veneer exposing internal contradictions that had previously been dismissed as mere family matters. In a highly dramatic hypothetical scenario, this event is seen as the catalyst that escalated long-standing tensions within the palace into an existential challenge for the monarchy itself. The focus of attention is now converging on a figure who is discreet yet formidable, Princess Anne. In in-depth analyses, Anne is often portrayed as a guardian of the monarchy's most exacting standards. Hypothetical analysis asks whether there could be a shocking revelation from her regarding the Queen Consort's position. Some bold theories suggest that Anne may be acting as an arbiter, raising serious questions about whether Camilla's presence aligns with the system's long-term future. If true, this would not merely be a personal disagreement, but a struggle to safeguard the integrity of the dynasty itself. Buckingham Palace today resembles a chessboard filled with countless potential moves. Leaks about reconsidering the position of a key figure may be nothing more than trial balloons to gauge public reaction, or they could signal the early stages of a comprehensive overhaul. Will the monarchy choose to preserve a flawless exterior, or will it confront its fractures head-on in order to restructure? And in this intricate power game, who will ultimately be the one to uphold the very foundations of the royal institution amid the turbulence of a changing era? In a system whose existence is measured in millennia, each individual functions like a cog within a vast machine. Princess Anne and Princess Kate have long been regarded as quiet architects, shaping the image of a dutiful and principled monarchy. If Anne embodies iron discipline and absolute loyalty to duty, Kate represents composure and refined diplomacy. What then happens when these two inherently steady pillars appear in hypotheses of discord with the new center of power, Queen Camilla? Let us view Princess Anne through the lens of a guardian of legacy. Princess Anne, with her notable bluntness, may not merely be expressing personal character, but rather activating a mechanism to protect that legacy. Her caution toward Camilla is not personal animosity, but a systemic self-defense response. In the eyes of conservatives, disruption within the royal family represents a dangerous variable. Any confrontation at the coronation banquet, if it occurred, would not be a personal clash, but a confrontation between conservatism and adaptation. If Anne chooses a direct approach, Kate employs a different language of power, the absence of protocol. In symbolic analysis, circles the act of not curtsying during the coronation is considered an explosive detail. Within the royal system, a curtsy is not merely a gesture of respect, it is an acknowledgement of hierarchy. The absence of this gesture from someone as impeccably protocol-conscious as Kate raised a significant question. Was it a simple oversight or a silent declaration of reluctance to fully accept a new order? Kate's silence at times carries more weight than 1,000 words, hinting at an undercurrent of polarization unfolding beneath the veneer of unity. Why does everything circle back to tradition? Because in the royal world, tradition is the single thread preventing the dynasty from unraveling amid social upheaval. Even the smallest breach of long-standing rules can trigger a domino effect, leading to systemic disorder. From the perspective of some key figures, Camilla's presence appears to be testing the very limits of those binding threads. Buckingham Palace is not merely the residence of a family. It is a battleground of ideologies. On one side stands the steadfast adherence to traditional values embodied by Anne and Kate. On the other, the effort of the Queen Consort to assert her position. Are the notions of removal or purification raised by these hypotheses truly taking place, or is this simply a painful process of adaptation, allowing the monarchy to move into a new era? The answer likely does not lie in official statements, but in glances exchanged, steps taken, and the curtsies that will or will not appear in the future. In the royal world, a curtsy has never been merely a gesture of politeness. It is a digital signature affirming hierarchy, an absolute acknowledgement of power and status. From a systems perspective, observing how members bow to one another is how the public deciphers the true power map of Buckingham Palace. At the coronation, the most symbolically charged event of a reign, the actions of the Princess of Wales fell under the media's microscope. The absence of a formal, unmistakable curtsy from Kate toward Queen Camilla gave rise to a startling hypothesis. Was this merely a technical oversight or a subtle message sent from the future of the dynasty? Before we delve deeper into the ghosts of the past surrounding the palace, I'd really like to hear your perspective. Based on the analysis so far, do you see Queen Camilla as a woman of resilience and capability, or simply as a fault line causing division? If you support her and believe she is competent, leave a comment with the number 2. If you disagree with her current position, leave the number 5. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe right now, so you won't miss the next episodes where we continue to decode these shocking developments. Some voices suggest that we may be witnessing a subtle modernization of the royal image. Rather than elaborate rituals, a gentle nod from Kate could be interpreted as an expression of minimalism in the era of King Charles III. However, analysts pose a sharper question for someone long regarded as a symbol of propriety. Like Kate, could such subtlety truly be accidental? The hypothesis of silent resistance emerges when the wife of the future king, entrusted with safeguarding traditional values, chooses to meet the Queen's gaze directly. Instead of bowing her head, it may be seen as a deliberate act of crossing the line. Is Kate setting a new boundary for respect and power? To understand the current tension, we cannot avoid invoking a name that has become legendary: Princess Diana. Consider a hypothetical question. If the consort on the throne that day had been Diana, would the atmosphere at Buckingham have been different? The legacy of the past weighs heavily, and a widely held hypothesis suggests that Camilla's presence remains an unhealed scar in the hearts of the princes and those most deeply tied to Diana's enduring legacy. If the upheavals of the past had never occurred, would Harry have left? Would the rift between the brothers have grown so deep? Perhaps behind Kate's steady gaze lies a convergence of emotions that have never been spoken aloud. Could she be acting as a representative of a shared, unvoiced sentiment held by those who believe that position once belonged to someone else? Even so, we must acknowledge a harsh reality in the royal world. Personal emotion is often required to yield to law and absolute order. Kate Middleton is not merely a woman with private thoughts, she is a model for future heirs. Bypassing an important ritual may be seen as a risky distraction, but it could also be a strategic move in the monarchy's transformation under King Charles. The ultimate goal is to ensure the dynasty's survival, yet the price may sometimes be the sacrifice of rules that have existed for centuries. Was Kate's nod toward Camilla a gesture of refined respect, or the punctuation mark ending an era of absolute deference? And how will these simmering tensions reshape the face of the British royal family when William and Kate formally assume the throne? Every detail, no matter how small, may be a fragment of a major transformation we are only just beginning to perceive. In your view, are the silence and shifting gestures of the Princess of Wales a sign of modernization, or do they reflect a divide that cannot be healed? The British monarchy, an institution built on pillars of permanence, now appears to be standing at a historic crossroads. To survive in the 21st century, this system may be forced into a process of natural selection, preserving its core values while letting go of rules that have grown rigid with time. Reconsidering long-standing rituals such as the curtsy can be seen as part of a risky yet necessary modernization strategy. The ultimate aim is to ensure that this transition does not undermine the foundations of the monarchy while remaining flexible enough to avoid being dismissed as a relic of the past. From the public's perspective, the actions of the Princess of Wales have sparked a fascinating wave of mixed reactions. Rather than being viewed as a mistake, many have interpreted them as a breath of fresh air. The hypothesis of independence emerges here. Could we be witnessing a new generation of royals refusing to play the role of pre-programmed puppets? Some observers argue that the willingness to challenge rigid rules reveals Kate's independent mindset, where personal emotion and perspective are beginning to carry greater weight than centuries-old values. However, all change encounters resistance. For staunch traditionalists, the act of curtsying is not merely a sign of personal respect, but a symbol of social stability and order. They believe that no individual, no matter how influential, has the right to stand above legacies that have endured across generations of reigns. This contradiction fuels an endless spiral of debate. Is the relaxation of protocol a step toward modernity, or the beginning of fractures within a system built on absolute formality? While Kate represents subtle change, Princess Anne has emerged as the figure most clearly reflecting dissatisfaction with the current state of affairs. Anne's caution toward Queen Camilla appears to go beyond personal tension. Why would someone as devoted to duty as Anne view Camilla as an incompatible variable? Perhaps in her eyes, Camilla's presence carries past mistakes and controversies that could cloud the perceived purity of the monarchy. The royal drama thus becomes not merely a story of personal relationships, but a struggle to protect a standard that Anne believes is under threat. The transformation of Buckingham Palace is a quiet, yet highly dramatic process, its pace shaped by internal acceptance and reactions from the outside world. The controversies surrounding Queen Camilla and the responses of the two princesses are simply the latest chapters in a history book that is being rewritten in real time. Will a more modern monarchy bring it closer to the people, or will the loss of traditional rituals cause the dynasty's aura to fade? In the flow of history, some stories do not end when their main characters exit the stage. Instead, they become shadow legacies that linger over the present. The life of Queen Camilla is a striking example of how the past can shape and sometimes imprison public perception for decades. Recently, as her status has been elevated, the codes of the 1980s and 1990s have once again been decoded through a lens of skepticism. Are we witnessing the mercy of time, or simply a perfectly executed media campaign designed to reconstruct an icon once rejected? Let us turn back to the turbulent era of the 1980s. In socio-psychological analysis, the bond between King Charles III and Camilla has often been described as a parallel system existing outside the framework of traditional royal rules. The arrival of Diana, the People's Princess, established a standard of purity against which any external intrusion was perceived as a serious systemic fault. Archival sources recall the iconic remark about three people in a marriage not merely as a complaint, but as a confirmation of a fractured structure. Camilla's long-standing presence in the shadows inadvertently forged her image as a counterweight to Diana, ensuring that every step she later took would be subjected to intense scrutiny. The year 1994 is often viewed as a breaking point in the monarchy's image strategy. The explosive interview with Jonathan Dimbleby was not simply a confession of an unconventional relationship, but through an investigative lens, a high-risk attempt at enforced transparency. However, rather than easing tensions, it backfired by reinforcing the hypothesis that Camilla was the very cause of the collapse of a beloved icon. In the eyes of traditionalists and Diana's admirers, Camilla appeared to be permanently cast as a disruptor of order, a stain that no title could easily erase. The tragic events of 1997 in Paris were not only a profound loss for the monarchy, but also a turning point that completely reshaped Camilla's position and destiny. Diana's absence left behind an immense vacuum of both power and emotion. From a figure once fiercely opposed, Camilla began a process of quiet neutralization. She rarely appeared, choosing patience as a strategy for survival. Could it be that this endurance, her silence, and willingness to remain in the shadows for years gradually shifted the public's emotional frequency? A segment of the public moved from hostility to curiosity and ultimately toward a conditional form of acceptance. Today, as Camilla officially stands at the pinnacle of her role as Queen Consort, old questions continue to linger. Is this position a recognition of enduring love or the outcome of a finely calibrated exercise in power? Is her presence genuinely accepted by younger figures such as Anne and Kate, or are they merely adhering to a silent pact to safeguard the monarchy's survival? The past may have receded, but the fractures it left behind remain an inseparable part of the modern royal landscape. In 2005, when wedding bells rang to mark the official union of Charles and Camilla, observers noted a pivotal detail in the language of power, the title, Princess Consort. Why not Queen from the outset? Through the lens of systems analysts, this was not merely a name, but a form of public opinion buffer. One hypothesis suggests that the palace was making a strategic calculation. At the time, they understood that Camilla's presence remained too powerful an emotional trigger for those who revered the memory of Diana. Lowering the title was a calculated concession, a prudent move to preserve the stability of the monarchy during a highly sensitive transitional period. Time may soften fractures, but it cannot fully erase old frequencies. In 2022, when Charles formally ascended the throne, Camilla's elevation to the title of Queen Consort immediately triggered another storm of hypotheses. For a segment of the public still carrying Diana's legacy, this act was perceived as a profound symbolic rupture. Was the granting of this title a personal wish of the king or an inevitable step to reinforce the monarchy's legitimacy? The voices of opposition are not directed at an individual alone. They are defending a myth forever sealed by the tragic death of 1997. In their eyes, replacing a position once associated with Diana with Camilla appears to be a form of rewriting history that not everyone is prepared to accept. Yet when we look more closely at the palace's operations, we can discern a sustained effort to recode and reinterpret Camilla as a person. Rather than confronting criticism head-on, she chose the path of quiet service. Camilla's focus on causes such as literacy and animal welfare has been assessed by media experts as a strategy of humanizing the symbol. Could this be her way of building a parallel legacy in which tangible contributions serve as a counterweight to past controversies? Her reputation is being carefully reconstructed from the smallest pieces through patronages, steady commitment, and composed public appearances. Yet no matter how great the effort, the corridors of history continue to echo with voices that refuse to fade. The past still casts its shadow over every action of the current queen. Critics ask whether present-day dedication carries enough weight to eclipse memories of the once shocking third person. Perhaps Camilla's greatest challenge is not the fulfillment of royal duties, but persuading an entire generation that she is a worthy successor to a role burdened with immense pressure and expectation. In a system where image is the ultimate weapon, we are witnessing a sustained effort to shift the axis of public perception. In recent years, Camilla's presence has no longer been associated with glamorous banquets, but instead with appearances in society's overlooked and uncomfortable spaces. Her focus on sensitive issues such as domestic violence is viewed by analysts as a highly strategic move. Could this be an attempt to establish a new frequency of connection with the public, one in which empathy is prioritized over historical controversy? Some hypotheses suggest that by standing alongside the vulnerable, she is gradually peeling away a negative label that has persisted for decades. However, real-life efforts often collide head-on with the power of mass media. The emergence of dramatized cinematic works, most notably the series The Crown, has generated a distinct socio-psychological phenomenon. These productions are not merely entertainment, they function as a filter pulling the hidden corners of the past back into the center of contemporary debate. When cinema portrays a figure through shades of intrigue and hidden calculation, it inadvertently reinforces long-standing stereotypes in the public mind. For many younger viewers, this cinematic lens has become a primary source of reference, blurring the line between historical fact and scripted dramatization. This is the invisible barrier that even the most sincere charitable efforts cannot overcome overnight. No matter how hard one tries to distance oneself from the turbulence of an era, one reality remains undeniable. Royal history is a living entity. The public's continued questioning around Princess Diana is not merely an expression of hostility, but a form of loyalty to an emotional legacy. Some viewpoints suggest that sustaining skepticism toward Camilla is a way for the public to protect the memory of a turbulent chapter in the monarchy's history. In this scenario, Camilla is not simply confronting public opinion. She is facing a ghostly legacy, one in which every present action is weighed against what has been lost. Upon officially assuming the role of Queen Consort, Camilla has demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability within the royal structure. Yet her legacy will always remain a complex symphony composed of present-day efforts intertwined with echoes of a past that has never fully faded. The shift in public perception may not depend on whether the past can be erased, but on whether the present is strong enough to create an entirely new and distinct chapter. Time is a master craftsman, capable of softening even the sharpest edges of history. Observing Queen Camilla's journey, analysts have noted a quiet shift in the collective psyche. From a figure once pushed to the margins of traditional moral norms, she has carved out her own trajectory, one in which growing authority and calm, restrained action have gradually earned trust. This is not merely the story of an individual, but a compelling example of adaptive survival within a monarchical institution. Could her presence be the very catalyst needed to shape a more modern, more pragmatic face for the British monarchy in a new era? When we examine the current power structure more closely, we see an image of Camilla built upon two pillars: atonement and perseverance. She has chosen to confront storms of public opinion through tireless service. Aligning her name with humanitarian causes appears not merely as duty, but as a deliberate way to redefine the meaning of her presence within the palace itself. Although the past remains a persistent shadow, her dedication to community values has turned her into an indispensable component of Buckingham's current operating system. Her legacy, therefore, is no longer a single linear narrative, but a complex matrix woven from past mistakes and renewed efforts. Yet within a system that prizes continuity as deeply as the monarchy does, the presence of guardians of tradition inevitably creates resistance. The most striking focal point of this tension is the attitude of Princess Anne, long regarded as the embodiment of discipline and unwavering loyalty to the monarchy's original values. The hypothesis surrounding Anne's dissatisfaction is not merely about personal conflict. It represents a broader question of compatibility. Can a system truly remain stable when its core contains controversial precedents? Anne's caution appears to serve as a reminder that no matter how the future is constructed, the strict standards of the past continue to exist as a form of oversight. We have traveled a long path in decoding the layers of emotion and power surrounding the presence of Queen Camilla. A life marked by trials, a complex path where every step is placed under the microscope of history. Faced with these data and analyses, what do you think about the fairness of our judgments? Are the firm reactions from figures such as Princess Anne a necessary defense of the monarchy's honor, or do they represent an obstacle to the inevitable evolution of the times? Is questioning the Queen's position at this stage a justified action, or should we accept change as an inherent part of the law of evolution itself? This information is for reference only based on unverified hypotheses, rumors, and public opinion. Let's discuss the issue from an objective analytical perspective. Don't just observe, leave your mark, press 1 if you want to explore more hidden variables of the monarchy. Press 0 if you're skeptical and believe what we see is only the tip of the iceberg. If you enjoy in-depth analysis, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue decoding the mysteries of power together. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for the next deep dive.